Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Open eCry market commentary for the week of January 21st. My name is Toby Gennaro from Trade with Precision, and just coming to you this week with the outlook for the markets. And looking at the ES futures then on some of the higher time frames, just back on the monthly chart, the last 3 months we've been talking about this, had that nice bullish candle there some time ago, and since then we've just been off to the races, setting in new highs, higher lows, just broke the most recent high there at 1467, 1468, continuing to push higher, and then that next level is going to be back from all the way back toward the end of 2007, right around that 1530 level, and I believe the high there was right around 1539. So that's looking to be the next stop, more than likely. Moving down to the weekly chart, we can see we've got just another break of that most recent high at 1468. Some bullish candles here. We're continuing to push higher. We don't have too much overextension of the moving averages, so things are looking very bullish on the monthly and the weekly chart. And then looking at the daily chart, last week we were anticipating that pullback into that 1460 level, which I have highlighted right here. We ended up getting that. We got a couple of bullish candles setting up right there in and around that 10 and 20 period moving averages. Once we got the break of those highs, we were back off to the races where we are currently. And then where I've been looking for most of my setups here is right around the 480 charts and lower. So as we move over to that grouping, we can see then on the 480 chart we just have a nice bullish candle right there in that 10-20 period zone, and we just got a break of that high. So to be looking to seem to be pushing higher here again. As we look at the 240 chart, we don't have that same setup. So as you remember from the advanced course, the trend flow setups on these trades, we need 2 time frames in agreement. So we'd be looking for the same pullback then on that 240-minute chart, and then looking for that bullish candle setup here in the buy zone. As we move down to the 120-minute chart, we can see that we have a reversal pattern that's setting up here in some of the lower time frames. We actually have a higher high right up there around 1481. And as we can see with that higher high, we actually have a lower high on both of the indicators, the MACD and the RSI. And just comparing the highs here with the highs here, and that's telling us that the trend could possibly be weakening to some extent. We've got that same setup here on the 60-minute chart. We can see that reversal pattern a little bit better here. We got the higher high here, and then we have the lower high in place on both the MACD and the RSI. So that would just be telling me that I can anticipate maybe a little deeper pullback. I don't think we're going to get a major pullback here, but I would be expecting maybe something down around this 1470 level, or we'd probably get the first bounce. If that doesn't hold, we have a nice level back down here right around 1468. And so if we got that pullback down to 1470, we can look at this setup candle right here on the 480 chart, and you can see that the low of that candle is right around that 1470 level. That'd more than likely be the most likely place for a bounce, and then that would put us 1470 right there in the middle of that 240-minute chart in the buy zone between the 10 and 20 period moving average, and then also put us right up against a nice support level there, right around 1471. So if we can get that pullback and then get a nice setup candle in the buy zone, we'd have our setup on both the 240 and the 480 charts, and we'd be looking to take the break of the high of that setup candle, looking then to go long again with the uptrend in this market. So everything looking very good, everything very bullish on the S&P 500, and continuing just to stay long this market and look for those pullbacks. And taking a look then at the small caps here on the Russell 2000 index, looking at the TF contract available on the ICE exchange. And we've been looking at this setup here. It's been setting up for quite some time, this flat level, 1, 2, 3. On the 4th touch, we got a nice break of that flat level. Really looking to push a lot higher here. I would think at some point we'd be getting a pullback into this, this 860, 857 level. But the market could potentially push quite a bit higher before we actually get that pullback. But things are looking good. Very similar to the ES, had that nice bullish candle set up, and for the last 3 months, we've just been putting on higher highs and higher lows. We can see that pretty well on the weekly chart here. All the moving averages in alignment. Things are pushing higher. Just got a break of that 866 level, which is right around that flat level, right around there at 860. Going down to the daily chart, we can see that we're just not getting any pullbacks with some of these candles here. We were anticipating maybe a pullback into the moving average here, at least back around this, say this 850 level, but we just didn't get it. The markets are consolidating sideways, had a number of bullish candles setting up there until we finally got this bullish candle here right around that 10 period moving average, and all of a sudden we broke the high of that and just took off to the upside. You can see that a little better on the 480 chart. Really got this sideways consolidation. Really just don't have a lot of sellers in the market at all. People are coming in right around those levels right there and beginning to continue to buy and to push this market higher. But all the charts on the higher time frames looking very good, looking very bullish. Don't have a lot of overextension on the daily chart or even the 480 chart. But I've been finding, as with the ES, most of my setups then on the intermediate grouping of time frames. We've got the 480, the 240, the 120, and the 60. And so as you can see, we're having a lot of these setup candles in and amongst that buy zone, and the same here on the 240 chart, and just continuing to push higher. As we begin to take a look at some of these lower time frames like the 120, we have some nice setups right in the buy zone, right around here, and all these, and we have the same thing on that 60-minute chart. So again, we do have some divergence coming in here on the 60-minute chart. Don't really have a lot of divergence there on the 120-minute, so we don't really have a reversal pattern of any kind like we did on the ES. So really I'd be looking for a setup candle probably on some of these lower time frames around the 120 and the 60-minute chart, and seeing if we can get a setup candle somewhere with a bottom right around that 890, 889 level, and then that would put us right back in the buy zone on both the 120 and the 60-minute chart, looking for that bullish candle setup to then break the highs here right around that 892 level, and then continuing higher. So that'd be the setup I'd be looking for this week on the Russell contract. And just looking at one last market here on a foreign currency pairing, the euro dollar. So we can see I'm just looking at, for a trade setup here on a couple of time frames, and just looking at the weekly chart. We've got some higher highs, higher lows over the last several months. We got the 10, the 20, the 50 period moving averages in alignment, moving up. We've got some consolidation right here, or some highs right around that 134.6 level. But I think if we move down to some lower time frames, we can find probably some trade setups. As we look at the daily chart, we can see we've got a multiplicity of higher highs, higher lows, culminating in that most recent high right up around 134. As you can see on the 480 chart, we have looks of a little bit of a reversal pattern here, some slight divergence there on this particular chart. But the one thing I like is we can still trade the trend flow even with divergence. And we have a nice setup candle right there in the buy zone on the 480 chart. If we go over to that grouping of the 480 and the 240 and the 120, we can see again we've got that nice bullish candle setting up right there. I have another bullish candle here on the 240 chart, and I'd really be looking to take the break of that high right around 133.3 and then take it back into that 134 level and see if we can potentially put in possibly a new high, or possibly start to consolidate around that 130, that 133 level. Looking at the 120-minute chart, we can see that we've got a little bit of a flat level setting up there with a couple of touches. And we've got a pullback in here, another bullish candle, and a consolidation setting up right here, potentially looking to push back up into that 134 level, the same as what we're looking here on the 240-minute chart. So nice little long trade there, I think, for a few pips, moving back up into the most recent high. That I think should be a likely occurrence here for this week. So good trade setup there on the euro dollar. So there's the market outlook for the week on the U.S. indices and a foreign currency pairing. And I'd like to thank you for watching the Open eCry market commentary for the week of January 21st. And we do look forward to speaking to you next week on the market update.